Welcome back. We had two more E3 conferences last night, which saw Ubisoft and Sony. I'll get to Sony in the next video, but today we're focusing Ubisoft. First of all, Ubisoft had a really good E3. I mean, some people go as far as to say they won E3. I don't think much was being expected of them, to be honest. Obviously, we thought we'd see some Assassin's Creed for sure, but they came out with some really big surprises, and we'll get into what they were soon. I'm sure you can imagine what they are, but yeah, they had a great show, and I mean they seemed like an underdog at first in terms of what they had to show, but they came out guns blazing, and it was action packed, and I was pretty much hooked from start to finish. They start off incredibly strong with Mario and the Rabbids game. Essentially, Mario is crossing over with the Rayman universe. Rayman doesn't seem to be in it, poor guy, but Rabbids are, and we've got this collaboration between Ubisoft and Nintendo. It was amazing. Miyamoto came out with Yves Guillemot, and I mean, the two of them, you could just see, were so excited. It was really infectious. And yeah, they announced this game, and like, I'm a cynical guy, but I've got to say, like, even I was kind of getting drawn into just the colourful world and how kind of cute the minions were, and when Rabbids were, and like the one dressed up as Princess Peach, like giving her looks like, you better go home and get changed. I thought that was really good. Speaking of minions, I feel like Rabbids do remind me of Minions from Despicable Me. I feel like they're kind of the video game version from Ubisoft, But yeah, I have to say, it looked really good. It looked kind of charming and fun. And yeah, it's good to see the Nintendo Switch has learned from the Wii U's failure and is making sure it has that third-party support. And it, it's definitely got that going on so far. The combat was a little bit... I mean, it's turn-based. A Mario game with turn-based combat. Miyamoto said that one of the things he said to Ubisoft when they, start discussing making a Mario game, he said, don't try and make the kind of Mario game Nintendo makes. And I think that's wise words, because you're not going to outdo Nintendo on that front. So it's kind of like... I saw someone describe it as Mario XCOM, which seems an apt description. They've got these kind of colourful, but nonetheless guns now that kind of look like Mario Portal guns that don't fire portals. And it's turn-based combat. There's strategy, there's cover. You have to think more about it. I've got to say, although I like the idea of that, and it looked very fleshed out and very good, and no doubt strategy game fans especially will be intrigued, I hope there's also some platforming and exploration in it. In between the action sequences, it did show the Rabbids and the Mario crew like running around this colourful world, so hopefully, it's not just one engagement after another. I hope there is some exploration. I hope there's a bit of platforming, and I think there will be, from what we saw. Then we got to see Assassin's Creed Origins. Again, we saw a lot of that at the Microsoft conference, but we got to see more of it now. Another trailer, some gameplay. And again, I still think it looks really, really good. I said in the other video, I think Egypt's a fantastic setting. I loved how alive the world felt. Egypt is... It's a place, especially at that period of time, it was kind of, at the forefront of civilization. We saw so much wildlife. We saw like lions and crocodiles and birds. I think details like that really help make an open world game feel alive. One of the things I think Red Dead Redemption was great for was that there was so much wildlife and things going on alongside what you were doing. And it seems like Assassin's Creed Origins is going for that as well. So, I hope they nail that. We saw a variety of like vehicles in Origins. There was the ships are back. Looks like naval combat's returning. That was introduced in Assassin's Creed 3, was hugely popular. Obviously, Black Flag capitalised on that. We didn't get any ship combat in Unity or Syndicate, but it looks like it's back now. Sailing is back now with Origin, so I'm really excited about that because that was a feature I loved in previous Assassin's Creed games. We also saw chariots. I don't think we've ever driven a chariot in an Assassin's Creed game. Of course, we got to ride a chariot in Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones, if you remember that game. So you know, Ubisoft have fun with chariots, but they look great. I mean, I'm eager to just bomb along Egypt in a chariot, you know, kicking up dust. And camels, you can ride a camel. Horses are in it still, but also camels. I feel like camels are criminally underrated in the video game world, and I'm glad Ubisoft are pushing forward and giving us some camels to ride. Of course, the editions have been announced. There's a variety of editions you could buy of the game. You could just buy the standard edition. There's a deluxe edition, I believe, that comes with the season pass. A gold edition that comes with the season pass and some extra content. A Gods edition, which I think comes with the aforementioned plus a statue. And then there's something like the Origins edition. And then there's another edition which I believe costs $700. And that price doesn't seem to vary much depending where you are. In the UK, I saw it's $699. It's $700 US in the US. It's really expensive. It comes with a lot of stuff. It comes with a very nice statue. You know, not just a run-of-the-mill statue. It comes with obviously season pass, all the extra DLC content, art books, lithographs. You know, you could look it all up. But there's a lot of stuff in it. Is it worth £700? Probably not. I've got to say, I'm not sure the value would come up to that. I don't really know who would spend £700. 700? Oh my god! Like, has there ever been a release of a collector's edition that expensive? I mean, wow. It looks nice. I mean, you know, but 700, that's too rich for my blood. No. But, you know, I'm not generally a fan of all this, as I've said before, of kind of having day one DLC and, you know, the standard edition of the game not coming with all, say, like, the bonus missions that, like, pre-orders would get. But we're very used to that kind of thing with Ubisoft, unfortunately. Let's just hope that the main game that you get in the standard edition is just so great that it doesn't feel like you're missing out. You know, hopefully, if they've really paid attention to the base game, we won't feel like it's missing something if we haven't bought one of the special editions. But still excited for Assassin's Creed Origins. As I said, great setting, the characters look good, the action looks good, the stealth gameplay. Not spending £700 on it, but, you know, I think it definitely looks like it could be a return to form for the Assassin's Creed franchise. Then we got to see South Park, more of South Park. First of all, we got to see a new trailer for South Park, The Fractured Butthole, get it? And it looks good. We finally got a release date coming out late this year. It was originally meant to come out late last year, but got delayed several times. So it's come out. It seems like it's eventually going to come out a year after it was originally meant to come out. But still, I would rather have a game delayed and end up being great than getting a game early and it just being rubbish. You know, South Park is such a popular franchise. It's known for its quality. I want a good South Park game, not something that feels like a cash in. And the original game, The Stick of Truth, was excellent, and I want this to be even better. And from what we've seen, it looks like that's going to be the case. So, you know, I can't complain, to be honest. I don't mind waiting for games as long as they're worth the wait in the end. They also announced a mobile game, South Park mobile game. I mean, it's a mobile game, so I don't think it's going to change the world or anything, but it looks fun. It looks like it could help tide South Park fans over the wait for The Fractured Butthole. If you've got this mobile game, it looks fun, it looks funny, it's got the South Park humour. Again, you know, I don't think it's going to blow us away or anything, but it looks fun, and I'll probably check it out when it gets released. Then we got to see a new VR game from Ubisoft called Transference. Now, the trailer didn't give a lot away about the plot or the gameplay. It was a live-action trailer starring Elijah Wood. Frodo Baggins is in VR now. Oh, imagine a Lord of the Rings VR game. But anyway, and the premise of it seemed to remind me of that episode from the latest series of Black Mirror about VR, where, I won't spoil the episode, but it relates to a guy going through a VR experience. And yeah, I've got to say, it reminded me a lot of that idea. So maybe they saw that and thought, we should do that into a game. But from what the trailer seemed to express, it was this idea that a VR game has been made for players to try, and they keep stating throughout the trailer that, don't worry, it feels incredibly realistic, but don't worry, nothing can actually hurt you. But I think in the story of this game, you know, maybe things can hurt you, and this will be the horror element. Whether Elijah Wood is in the main game, I assume so. Surely they didn't just pay that much money for him to appear in a trailer. But, you know, again, a live-action VR game, it seems. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a live-action trailer. But still, I think a live-action VR game could be interesting. Transference, yeah, definitely got my interest. I'm waiting for a great VR game to come out, and maybe this will be it. Maybe this will be the thing to convince me to go out and get a headset. Then Ubisoft announced a brand new IP called Skull and Bones, which essentially looks to be like the sailing from the Assassin's Creed series, the naval warfare, but just its own game, and it's going to be online, which is a feature we really wanted. You could never play online in Assassin's Creed in the naval warfare, whereas this game, it looks like you're going to be able to. I believe there is going to be a single-player campaign to it, but also there will be multiplayer where you can build up your own ship, your own crew, take to the high seas, battle other players, and from what the trailer indicated, right at the end you see a glimpse of some kind of massive beast under the ocean, some kind of leviathan. So it looks like there could also be a kind of mythical element to it. You know, maybe we'll also have to battle giant sea creatures as well as other players. But yeah, we got to see some gameplay of that. It reminded me a bit of the Dark Zone in The Division, where it was kind of a Wild West type area where you go in and there are great rewards to be reaped, but at the same time there are other players who are also looking for those rewards, and there's a, you know, high risk reward factor, and you know, if you make it out in time with the loot, then you'll get loads of XP, loads of treasure, as it were. But also there's a good chance you could die and lose everything. So it looks very interesting. I definitely want to keep an eye on again. I keep saying that, but I feel like there have been a lot of games like that this year. Yeah, I think that's definitely a good one. Then we saw The Crew 2. The Crew 2 turned up to 11, it seems. No longer are you just racing cars. You pretty much any vehicle. We saw planes, we saw speedboats, motorbikes, and of course cars. As I said, I'm not a huge racing gamer myself. I did play the original Crew. I didn't feel it quite lived up to the expectations, but it was definitely a solid racer. But this one, it looks like it's really upping the game. So people who like the Crew, I think, will like this one, because it seems to be cranking everything up to 11, and it's just going to be even bigger, even more open. Hopefully Ubisoft learnt about what they need to do with the Crew from the original Crew, and you know, hopefully the Crew 2 is even bigger, even better, and even more fun. Then we saw a very interesting new game called Starlink Battle for Atlas, which appears to be Ubisoft's version of No Man's Sky. Let's hope it doesn't share the same fate, because God knows that was a disappointment. Basically, it appears to... I heard someone describe it as No Man's Skylanders, which is a pretty apt name. From what the trailer showed, it seems to have a similar concept to No Man's Sky, where you were in a spacecraft and you could land on planets, explore new planets. I don't know whether it's procedurally generated. It does look like there's definitely going to be online with it. No Man's Sky said we'd meet other players, but we never did. And yet, in this one, it did look like there was space combat, definitely a lot more than No Man's Sky. I think there is going to be an online element there. The interesting thing about it is it seems to be, it's going to come with accessories, like you can upgrade and change the style of your craft by buying kind of figures of these crafts, like Amiibo or like Skylanders, and you kind of connect them to the game. And you know, if you start off with like a really small but fast and not very powerful red ship, you could buy like a big blue behemoth ship and connect that to the game, and that will change your ship. And you know, I mean, I feel like things that use kind of toys to life type gameplay mechanics tend to either sink or swim. Amiibo have been incredibly popular, but Skylanders, I believe, is waning. So I mean, this could be good. You know, I could definitely see it being very popular with younger gamers, especially where you get these figures, and you know, you're not just playing the game, you can also have your ship on your desk while you play. You know, definitely looks interesting. I think if it can take what was good and interesting about No Man's Sky and actually capitalise on it, then it could be really good. So hopefully Ubisoft looks at No Man's Sky where that went wrong and doesn't follow suit. Next we saw Just Dance. I have almost nothing to say about this. I don't dance, never. I've never played a Just Dance game. I don't care about pop music. It all seemed very colourful and vibrant and young people having fun, and that's just not me. But I was covering the conference with the people I work with, and there was that bit where people were dancing, and then a singer came on and started singing, and the crowd started cheering and stuff. I was like, I said to my colleagues, I went, who is that? Is that a famous pop star? They were all like, yeah. And they said her name, I can't remember it, and I had never heard of her, but it made me feel so old. I'm not that old, but it's just not my demographic. Ubisoft are not looking to try and get me in on this game. It just made me feel old and grumpy, and I was like, these damn kids with their music in my day. I mean, but yeah, I mean, if you're into it, it looks good, but not for me. We also saw more of Far Cry 5, which I think is shaping up to look really good. Far Cry 3 was excellent. 4 I thought was also very good. I didn't get around to Primal. I just felt like I'd had too much Far Cry at that point, and I skipped that one because I was just getting a bit fatigued by Far Cry. But I'm really up for this next one. I think the setting's really interesting. It has been slightly controversial, but I like the idea of, you know, instead of being on an isolated island in the tropics or something, or in the Himalayas, we're now on familiar ground where we're in American soil. You know, America is, its culture is something we're all very familiar with. And I think during the current political climate we find ourselves in, it's also quite interesting. I'm not going to get political, you know, I'm not saying this or that, but you know, I can see why it has caught people's attention and been a little bit controversial. I don't think it's that controversial personally myself. You know, I don't think Ubisoft is really trying to make any kind of statement as such. I think the idea of cult leaders is incredibly interesting. Historically speaking, you know, that's something Ubisoft could really play with, the villain being a cult leader. You know, as we've seen in real life, cult leaders tend to be both incredibly charismatic characters and yet incredibly unpredictable and incredibly violent. And I look forward to seeing how it plays out in the story. And the Far Cry series is known for having great antagonists, and I really hope Far Cry 5 follows suit with that, and I think it will. We got to see the allies that will be in Far Cry 5, including a dog. So Game of the Year, I'm a dog person, 10 out of 10, yeah, I'm in. It killed a guy and then brought you his gun. If that's not a good dog, I don't know what is. It looks like in Far Cry 4 we got the addition of a gyrocopter you could navigate the world with. In this one it looks pretty certain that we're going to be able to man a small plane, which looks fun. I hope the wingsuit returns as well. That's a classic from the Far Cry series. And obviously there are other vehicles like cars that you can bomb around in. So yeah, Far Cry 5 shaping up to look really good. I'm pumped for that. Looking forward to it. And then Ubisoft decided to finish on perhaps the most surprising announcement of all of E3 so far, at least, Beyond Good and Evil 2, a sequel 15 years in the making. The original Beyond Good and Evil game was released back in the PS2 era. It was critically acclaimed, but unfortunately no one bought it. It is a really good game. It's got great characters. Jade, the protagonist, it's a vibrant world to explore. It's really good. You should definitely check it out. I believe it's available on the PlayStation Store for the PS3 now and the PS4. I think the same could be said of the Xbox One version, and obviously I believe it's on PC. I think so. Yeah, so definitely check it out if you haven't, because it definitely holds up. It's a really good game. But you know, this is a sequel that kind of over the years we've had tiny teasers of. You know, 1 minute it's kind of in the works, the next minute it's not. We saw, I think it was 2 E3s ago, a little kind of teaser came out for it, but then Ubisoft went very silent on it, and it was like we kind of assumed at this point maybe it wasn't happening. But the guy, I forget his name unfortunately, who has been trying to get this off the ground, he came on stage and he had tears in his eyes and he was so emotional, and I thought it was brilliant. That's what video games are about. That's what art is about. The passion he had for this project and how much he cared about this franchise, that he spent the last 15 years of his life working on it, trying to push it forward, you know, and not having any guarantee they ever would come out, and yet he still dedicated himself to it. And I think that's fantastic. And what we saw of it, it looked great. I mean, you have a giant pig with a moustache. You had a crazy space monkey. I mean, it looked funny. It looked adult. It kind of gave me like a more adult Guardians of the Galaxy type vibe. That monkey reminded me of Rocket Raccoon a bit. But, I mean, it just looks fantastic. And I think, judging by what we saw, it looks like they understand that most people didn't play the original Beyond Good and Evil, so this one looks like you won't need to have played that, although I recommend you do because it's really good. But it looks like, I think I heard them say it will begin before Jade was born, although she did appear in the trailer as an adult, so whether it catches up, I don't know, but how it will connect to that, we'll see. But I think it looks great. It looks really unique and unlike anything we've seen, and really colourful, vibrant. Some great characters. It was funny. I was so glad to see it announced, and again, I just loved the passion the guy had for it, and to me that's what video games are about. I think Ubisoft has, you know, on a corporate level, they do like to have lots of editions released for their games. They do have day one DLC, unfortunately, pre-order bonuses, and that side of the company I don't like. However, I think Ubisoft has some really, really talented people working for them, people with really great ideas, and if they would just put their trust in those people, just go, okay, make something, we'll fund it, go out and do it. I understand why they don't do that, obviously, because they're a company, they need to make money, but the people of Ubisoft, I think, are what make it great, and I think that shined with the announcement of Beyond Good and Evil 2. And I hope it's a really big hit, and I hope it makes that guy's time worthwhile. I hope it launches the series. I hope in 10 years' time we've had several new Beyond Good and Evil games. You know, I really hope it does well. It deserves to do well. So I urge you to keep an eye on it, you know, and it might well win you over if you're not familiar with Beyond Good and Evil series so far. Definitely want to watch out for that. So yeah. Ubisoft, I think, had a really strong E3 conference. Lots of surprises, lots of cool looking games. As I said, some people have been saying Ubisoft have won E3. So we'll see when it's finally over. But let me know what you thought. Leave some comments. Did you enjoy the conference? Did you not? Are you pumped for Beyond Good and Evil 2? Are you pumped for Assassin's Creed? Are you not? Why not? Tell me. Let's have a discussion. Anyway, Nintendo tonight, I'll cover that in my next video. Thanks for watching.